Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gilg Nerach.
Sé Claare na Gael was Gaeltaiach Cartnish as Babaliam Usaldacha. I'm Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Have I heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
And it's my pleasure to present this bilingual programme, Claare na Gael, in the English language as Sagilg, in the Manx Gaelic, Chinyanamera, the mother tongue of Alan Vanning, the Isle of Man. As Bannachten Dudrish. The newspapers of early March 1826 still reverberate from the trouble in 1825, when Bishop George Murray tried to impose tithes at rates far higher than in England or Ireland, on potatoes and turnips particularly. Resistance led to confrontation and violence. Os scilelia mechion Tom Ordeg, ba Tom na Yarad o Fwy, Hai Tom Merish Rwstern noch René Brad. Wel, y chi'r sio, ta sy'n dyn sgilelia mechion Tom Ordeg, a sé talier ta Tom os Tom Jane Uncherge. Te gul Merish Rwstern, ach a chi'r sio te cwnol iaw da gaid ygid fai sé machasti a ri. The 1st of March is Dydd Dewi Sant, the feast day of Dewi, the patron saint of Wales. So there's a musical celebration of that association, mainly towards the traditional end of the Welsh music spectrum. Of course, that's very, very broad, covers all sorts of music. But we start with music by Sir Carl Jenkins, Salm o Dewi Sant. Tawas geisdiach rys Radio Vanning, Stasiwn the Nation, Visgol yr Sgelia Mach by Dúlis, Ellen Vanning. Psalm o Dewi Sant, the Psalm of St. David, a piece by Sir Carl Jenkins, and it was performed by Addie Amos. When it came to the harvest of 1825, Bishop George Murray had sought to impose a tithe of 12 shillings an acre on potatoes and turnips, compared with 3 shillings an acre in England and 2 shillings and sixpence an acre in Ireland. It wouldn't have been popular after a good harvest, but the 1825 harvest was poor. In Kirkpatrick, tithes collected in kind were thought to be stored at Knockaloe, and after meeting in a pub in Glen May, about 100 demonstrators made their way to Knockaloe. An eyewitness of what happened appeared in the Manx Rising Sun, signed from a Manxman and parishioner of Patrick, an eyewitness account, of course, a Manxman and a parishioner of Patrick, and he wrote this. The report asserted that the haggard of the bishop's proctor was set on fire, and the tithe potatoes burned. No, sir, this is not the fact. The haggard which was destroyed was that of Mr. John Kennedy of our parish, who had no more connection with the potato tithe than an infant of Lapland. Neither was there a particle of tithe produce of any description about the premises. Tan a rwsteren braiach je Tom o'r deg de fe captainach, ach de Tom ginstau de belesh gold yn yn tail. Ach anoddi imerca ach farling je oliwen ergid ve gaidi tega. Te sir a over je master yn talier, ach anelad arltach de chorstar de de. Mar so te golmor siarben tjawstai je taech. Ach, chamai leis na mren jarvente, no de wel I ginst den vaasjes den verasje, de wel het goilridden by Moggeden as a teller. As leider outrever ben jarvent giara fair, honneki Tom masten a kelen, as gawie, as huggie ons kjonnen de ver giaritjek, as huggie kjonnen shende boer voer, ren slugge shise, as Tom choustije. As high Tom Schieskus bold na bear. Ve dorige, as gerawi kunt de monage. As treven woe guller bian, dilia maag by choustigi, strip strap strie, be a chrik gledden de lier. A gerouch en rehigel kunt de fire vania. Kilmerry was the site of a battle in December 1282, which led to the death of Llywelyn ap Griffith. But whilst a band of Gogs, North Walians, took that name Kilmerry for their group, they didn't by any means confine themselves to lamentation.
Drwbeth nach ni gan beibion o blif tythian a blifo drwbeth nach ni gan beibion Ma wysgen I vanedi welio flwyn a charma pwy yn pedran Na mynd i'r gwely gwyn o blif A chyd ar hendyn trian A mynd i'r gwely gwyn o blif A chyd ar hendyn trian Fel tigau eithnydd ar ei lic ei yfed gwyn a choro Ond doba werth yw gwyn I mi A glin ar eba gweddw Ond doba werth yw gwyn I mi A glin ar eba gweddw
The band Kilmerry Most of the members, I think, have been here for Shruniach at one time or another in various guises, playing with various dance groups and so on, but they never came as Kilmerry. Lur tamalt beg, henke fair os diach sa taioli, is doortje. Lena verach be een boe shen butchurit. Sen, voor Tom Ordeg genacht een aglet as de jaru. As lesje gereis binge, dilly maag, lieg thou kost na maag hoyacht, tammy ma hai on shaw so chow sty. Hele manche, de earth is de clear, a gedoddig tiggle cray by henke gerei. Cray thou os spraye. Chow sty jener do, dregger Tom Ordeg. Ach, rinne manche, no na rawi tiggle beg je, gull soel. A morra gain van woe butchurit. De heich oil dinna weestowl you in giara as a scorer, channy Tom Sair by adi be. As renniskir a stiach master an ale fronag. Tra henke butchur fair de ol toich der noverege, dilly Tom mach, lesh ulju an yard. Na gin giara go down, tammy na life foy. Ach kunt schien skin de butchuur, gerauwe gereire glaasjen. It is true enough, writes a Manxman and a parishioner of Patrick, and a lamentable circumstance, he says, for poor old Mr. Kennedy, that one of his sons, named James, had the misfortune to engage with the Lord Bishop to assist in collecting the green crop tithe in our parish, and without old Mr. Kennedy's authority or knowledge, his name was made use of in the notices respecting that tithe. Upon the presumption, therefore, of the innocent old man's being a party, a mob of 100 men or thereabout beset the house between 3 and 4 o'clock on Friday evening, demanding his son James, and to know where the tithe potatoes were deposited. They were told that James Kennedy wasn't there, and hadn't been there for some time past, and that any tithe potatoes he might have gathered were at the parish glebe. The mob then insisted upon old Mr. Kennedy and his son Robert attending them to show them the place, which they did. player Gwennan Gibbard. She's from the Llyn Peninsula in North Wales. She was playing some Welsh polka tunes. Well, the polka originated in Bohemia in the 1830s and 40s, soon gained far wider currency through the European dancing masters. Sure dat stasiwn yn asiwn radio fannings yn sure tawas geisdiach rys Claare na Gael, mer yn pyn Robert Cutting Corfol, Robert y Corslach.
Ever heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
Te ceir dod eisdiach rys y Cleden Claare sure rys siacht yn lwgdigol yr sgelia mach, a sian trwyd unedeg y radio fanning as yn chraman eis rys, as ddim wedi Claare yn rygedden yn sian. The podcast Jane Claare again nasty trwyd unedeg y radio fanning nies, na trwyd Cerridor yn podcast Elia, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, na Alexa. This letter continues. The rioters then tore the thatch off the potato store and set fire to 2 of the bishop's carts which were on the spot for the purpose of getting the tithe, and they were speedily consumed to ashes. They afterwards proceeded to Peel, requiring the assistance of the people there, but to the honour and credit of the town, they couldn't prevail upon a single soul to join them. They then bent their way to Kirkpatrick again, and after levying contributions on Mr. Bridson and Mr. Corrin by exacting money and liquor under threats of burning their property, they returned to poor old Mr. Kennedy and committed a work of destruction. They first assailed the windows with huge stones and broke every pane and window frame in the house. They next set fire to 17 stacks of corn and hay, which were consumed to ashes, leaving only one solitary small rick of barley, which was accidentally saved by a sudden change of the wind. Nish fy tomordeg bog ons bore moer, as we ersen limme me giert de gastach de hanacht in der sulvain skin, as for jere henk e trwd les glauwt de gragan. Ach dat ik kosne er schuld de bollach, as we ersen liege desen hien tannacht en maasten a glauwten de vlennik, de we courage ons podden roe. Ben echt degge kiel de loer, as we ersen we courage regrage soes se chimley se jeg, as de hanachten ons sjen rish tammelt viel jouwer. Voor jere tre henke jere we gotch noes, no der ouwe podden roe de we courage roos kierdag. As tre en venos giara podden roe, ons sliddigen, we ersen goil kerel woer de renne trogel soese gion rauwer, nonne weg na were wij egge wannel. Voor jere honneke der ou kege, as rauwe krie, as renne limme maag aastje. Ach no der ou ridden en ol geolk les zet ai sjen, gerauwe fo tomordeg tannachten on sjen. Our more visitors to Uncruniach a few years ago were Ninebach, a band fronted by singer, songwriter and actress Lisa Jane.
Cave
song Gwydir Glas, Blue Glass, and that was performed by the band Ninebach. Again, they're based in North Wales, in Pesta, as people refer to it, Bethesda as it is in full, where Lisa Jane particularly celebrates the heritage of the slate industry. Myrso hai tomor deg rosh rish the rawel magiert. A charaw sers na seg a rish fada. Ons na mar an lom, henk shinnach, ren slugga shisa gin smunion. Oh, vans je hinnach, dai, tomor deg, tammy on shaw, gach ons de scornach, lieg ser mi rish. Kaart de loor dregger an shinnach, sfeer na velu weg na she na vegger bi. Cor Gael en douwde bi na kjarken ons close de hera emus, as esh nim lieg a seru. Les jullie me grie, dregger tomor deg, be a dulju eds, tam I cor Gaelden dut. Esh ren a shinnach liga sere, as renne ride valia. Tre honnik an vak weg bienrish, renne corden shinnach de harltach, ulju na kjarken wege. As gee, cham a shen, kreen slug braude euge temes de han, door tomor deg, as huggy day a farling ve a chasna chouds ve raweel me geert. A krenach tau braiach, dod dat ligget an shinnach I ulju na kjarken baachta. Although these demonstrators in Kirkpatrick were acting under a misunderstanding, what they did at Knockaloe was devastating for old Mr. John Kennedy, his wife, family and property, as this letter shows from a Manxman and parishioner of Patrick. They fired the house containing the poor man's stock of potatoes and herrings, destroying them altogether, with a valuable set of horse trappings and cart gear, and all the servant man's clothes, and abused the persons of old Mr. and Mrs. Kennedy in the most shameful manner. The poor old man's right ear is nearly severed from his head, and the injuries his wife has sustained are likely to attend her to the grave. The gates, pillars, and rails leading to the house at a considerable distance were reduced to the smallest fragments. In short, a more complete wreck of property can hardly be imagined. Elsewhere we find that Mr. Kennedy's ear was almost severed, apparently by a blow from a scythe blade, so you can imagine the consequences if it had been delivered just a little inwards from his ear. And from quite early on in Claare and Gael, the Welsh trio Plethin have been firm favourites, and last time in Claare and Gael we heard a slow, reflective piece, Trefailiais y Byd, I travelled the world, about leaving Wales to go all round the world, and Plethin made a version of the same song, but this is a rather more jolly version of it. Farewell i'r picws mali.
Farewell i'r picws mali a hefyd i'r barallaeth. Farewell i'r mistress hefyd, mi chefysio lawer gwaith. Trafeiliais y byd I gyd o'r bron, a thrwal a thros y môr. Bydd y glaswell ar fy llwybrau cyn y delwy fi Gymru nôl. Cyn y delwy fi Gymru nôl, fy ffrind cyn y delwy fi Gymru nôl. Bydd y glaswell ar fy llwybrau cyn y delwy fi Gymru nôl.
Farewell i'r merched mwynion, farewell I ddrws y glas.
Farewell I borth y fynwen, farewell i'r garreg glas. Trafeiliais y byd I gyd o'r bron, a thrwad a thros y môr. Bydd y glaswell ar fy llwybrau cyn y delwy fi Gymru nôl. Cyn y delwy fi Gymru nôl, fy ffrind cyn y delwy fi Gymru nôl. Bydd y glaswell ar fy llwybrau cyn y delwy fi Gymru nôl. Farewell I dreth Llandewi, farewell i'r eglwys wen. Farewell i'r clochdy uchel a'r ceiliog ar ei ben. Trafeiliais y byd I gyd o'r bron, a thrwad a thros y môr. Bydd y glaswell ar fy llwybrau cyn y delwy fi Gymru nôl. Cyn y delwy fi Gymru nôl. glaswellt ar fy llwy brau, cyn y delwy fi Gymru nôl.
Ffarwel i godin fore, ffarwel i fwyd o'r moch.
Ffarwel rwyf yn ei roddi, i'r meb ar wasgod goch. Trafeiliais y byd i gyd o'r bron, a thrwad a thros y môr. Bydd y glaswellt ar fy llwy brau, cyn y delwy fi Gymru nôl. Cyn y delwy fi Gymru nôl, fy ffrind, cyn y delwy fi Gymru nôl. Bydd y glaswellt ar fy llwy brau, cyn y delwy fi Gymru nôl.
From mid-Wales, that's Plethin making light of saying farewell to Welsh oatcakes there, Picus Mally, and going off to travel the world. But the sentiment still is that the grass will be on my footpaths before returning to Wales again. So it's still a song of hiraeth, I suppose, although they made it sound very happy in that case. The two leaders of the events in Kirkpatrick were William Hudgeon of Patrick and John Kermode of Llanfalia. In the Manx Rising Sun's first edition for March 1826, an article says, "In the late broils, 2 men were transported for burning Kennedy's haggard." And William Hudgeon and John Kermode were in fact sent to Van Diemen's Land, which later became Tasmania. William Hudgeon was granted his freedom in September of 1845. John Kermode was a more difficult prisoner, but he wrote to his family saying that he'd been given a free pardon from Queen Victoria, he said, in December of 1846. And he intended to return to the island. He says in the letter, "I expect some of the Manx farmers will pay me for the 21 years I've been banished from my native land on their account." So he evidently saw himself as something of a martyr to the cause. Unfortunately, his family had to write back to disillusion him, telling him that actually he was all but forgotten in the island after his 21 years in Van Diemen's Land. Tan sgil chitga gera leis fregar den eis en hielsjen krenach dodad liga den shinach I uljuna kjarken baagda. Chama petje onu, ta fisset de bear leis de eros, vega, nana kjarken sa closega. A shen geran sgil leis en fregar chen. Sa chyd sgil mach yon Tom Ordeg sé dyn je beg achtel cwrtoil va Tom mach sa sgil short beg an lunach is mitiúrach chas ve gafrach de talier ni ein rau bi mai gul a cordel joris je banasje as ve na smoona mitiúrach vagan rau I goil arn ons gai jurgid vai shemer hashti an ri. Va cws generid in chedin tachedrish an san der sgil gul merish rústeren nach leis artiselja, chit de vei slugget chis ljoris bua, as na sami ljoris shinnach. Ach sa chyd sgil van shinnach currit gebes ljoris parent an Tom Ordeg, ach a chir shot tanacht an bio, as na smoona shen tat manra de choro lina kjargende. An chirbe shen an sgil mach yon troiltussen Tom Ordeg. a duo based in Caerdydd, that's fiddle player Lucy Rivers, and guitar player there, he also plays mandolin, Dan Lawrence, and they play together as the duo Olion Byw, which could be translated as Living Traces. Lucy is also very much involved in theatre and composing for stage and screen.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Stasiwn na nasiwn to radio fanning sé Claare na Gael wisgol sgelia mach ag a tre ton, mish Robert Cuttingcar o Robert a Carslach.
Did the other hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
Ta nasgiel jouwer de loer steen mesich a bilje almond. Trel jouwer de henne, voor die gouders de huis een bleen, voor dunje beurtjach on, as voor ben weg inrichegge, as voor 4 graaiig ergelia. As grauw peitjen erbij ook, geder au mien woeroks on peurt, as van wendjesje goil page rish onla as onnee. As de gloos roosje taaiok, van a jadu bilje almond. As leid de rause joure, van wendjesje na jadu fo, as ish skrijge oel. Gouds wie skrijge, ren nie gjarre a meer, as ren de noel tujem een jachte. Door de ben, as ish asnige de down, gouds wie gien schies noel. De rauwig peitje hem, gedjurgs voels, gebijne sniachte. Als houds wie grene vogelen show, henkie tot tajimach, de wij edrum se grie. As wij gennachten son schikkeres, de berge jieriek erne guline. Maar zo hij bak se taai. As treve mi jong onsja, van sniachte soel. The Manx Rising Sun for March 1826 also notes that the incidents had led to an Act of Tynwald, by which any such future destruction of property is provided for. But, as the Act is not retrospective and cannot therefore include Kennedy's loss, we've been led to inquire what compensation he's received or is likely to receive. It appears that a collection was made in the neighbourhood and about Castletown to the amount of about £15, which was given him to supply his immediate wants. In the meanwhile, it was thought desirable that a memorial to the bishop should be prepared by Kennedy, stating the particulars of the loss which he'd sustained, and requesting his lordship to direct the clergymen of the diocese to recommend their parishioners to contribute and provide a fund to cover the damages he'd received, and which was reported to be between £200 and £300. So he's suffered losses of between 200 and 300, and actually he's received compensation so far of £15 just to cover his immediate requirements. This memorial, says the article, was prepared and presented to the clergyman of the parish for his signature to attest it. So this is the memorial being given to the clergyman of Kirkpatrick. Track Cymru has a project which began as the National Youth Folk Ensemble of Wales, and it is to give young musicians aged 18 to 25 experience for professional careers. As the band Abanc, members of the National Youth Folk Ensemble of Wales, have performed at Celtic Connections in Glasgow, and they've also performed at Lluniach. Does the Ravat and Sheer of a TV? the band Abank, and Mach Glass, which could mean a grey horse or it might mean a blue horse, meaning a horse that's been awarded a blue riband. Well, the clergyman in Kirkpatrick at this time was the Reverend John Cottier, who was appointed to the parish in January of 1812. Well, here he was in 1826, not being very helpful, apparently, to his parishioner, John Kennedy. In fact, if we go on just over a year, I'm not saying this has any bearing on the case whatsoever, but just as a matter of interest, John Cottier was unfrocked as a clergyman in June of 1827 for drunkenness. Well, here the Manx Rising Sun in March 1826 is referring to his being asked to put his name to this memorial to the bishop, which form, says the article, is so customary and so legal that we cannot conceive why it was declined. The clergyman did, however, refuse, till he had consulted the bishop, when, instead of the memorials being signed and recommended to the inhabitants for their subscription, it was withdrawn altogether. Now we do think there is in this, as in many recent matters, much mystery, and for which there could be no necessity. In the present case, the inhabitants were desirous to contribute and exonerate Kennedy for the injury he had sustained. Lug Dewi fod a cholion I glas. Lug tri meechen ren na blegen boeg am haag as een oer. Lug keermeechen van a Belgian lijn vogeljag, as van a banglenen village de meer a gelia. Gauw noosjek een begge tuig der goile ren, der aan de keelgen a hina, as ren na blegen tujem wijn a Belgian. Treven hwegel weer on sja, van wen jesjen a shadow van Wilje Almond, as voor zorge millishegge de ren na krie moeste, tjoustaigi, as hutchi a dergluun son boga. As treven cheo weer van mes mee brouw, as van mes mee brouw, as ren I tannachten kuun. As de tjaachtu weer en I chumsigen na almonden, as die ad de gien, as we chingus trimsje. As treben haachtu wie engel sja, gemi maag en dunje sheshek as doorte gouds wie Kenia, men jim gethen bes, gin non lukke me von Wilje Almond. Esch we ernigurgige, as we manra. Now, the duo Briggin are brothers Inner and Eirig Roberts from the north, and they're joined by D.N.A., and that's mother and daughter Delith and Anghara Jenkins there from the south, and they're singing about the Black Knight, Nos Thee.
Nos Thee, hynod a hyfryd wyt ti, Nos Thee, hynod a hyfryd wyt ti, Nos Thee, disgwyl am doriad y wawr, Nos Thee, aros amdanat bob awr. Bob dydd, bobl yn mynd ac yn dod, Bob dydd, gweithio yn galed am glod, Bob dydd, chwilio am arian I ddiw, Bob dydd, ceisio darganfod fy nyw. Nos Thee, tywyll yw byd fel y bedd, Nos da, cysgu mae'r seren yn ef, Nos Thee, unig yw hanes bob dydd, Nos da, dyfod mae bywyd yn wir. Nos Thee, hynod a hyfryd wyt ti, Nos Thee, hynod a hyfryd wyt ti, Nos Thee, disgwyl am doriad y wawr, Nos Thee, aros amdanat bob awr.
brothers Ynir and Eirig Roberts, the duo Briggin, and mother and daughter Delith and Angharad Jenkins, the duo DNA. And I'm pleased to say that Delith and Angharad will be here for Chroniach this year. Treb yn naiwi yn gol sia, eich ruggery lianw chobene sniachte as a jergus fool. As tre honneke, gemoer van taatjesek, de doerie bes. Rennend in je sheshe ek onlucky phone vilje almond, as renne ko de try. The memorial above described was the most regular and respectable means of accomplishing Kennedy's compensation. Why, then, was it withdrawn? It's not likely that Kennedy will sit down satisfied with his loss, and we don't see any other fair mode by which he be repaid. If any application is intended to be made to government, we think it should only have been as a last resource, and not until after an appeal to the public had been made. So Mr. Kennedy seems to have been left high and dry here at the start of March 1826. Well, stand by for 2 hours of the best of chill-out music for your Sunday evening in the company of Chris Pearson between 7 and 9. And then Judith Lay will be here at 9 to present Sundown. Well, Carreg Labar there was singing about the miner from Merthyr, Dick Penderyn, who became a martyr for the miners' cause when he was hanged for his part in the Merthyr Risings of 1831, which he certainly took part in, but the charges against him were in fact bogus. However, Claare Gael closes now, flying over the hill, Hedvan Drossabryn. As the jar of Chennai, and so until the next time then, this is Robert Gittincartle, Robert a Carslach.
Oh, Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night. Evi McCreorts, as Duts, Mayiri and Share.